What's good, YouTube? Man, Steel here. Full disclaimer, before I even say a single thing about a promo, before I break down a list to beat it, before I break down the list that we're trying to beat, the most important thing is that expert battle, like the expert difficulty, is the only one that guarantees you getting a pack for these promos. The game does force you to try each level at once. As you start with beginner, it unlocks advanced, intermediate, and then expert. But once you unlock expert, it's in your best interest to use all your stamina on that difficulty, and it's the only way to guarantee getting the most amount of promo packs, thus maximizing the chances to get the cards available in this event. Also, a good thing to note is that losing doesn't cost you stamina, so don't worry about losing a game here or there. But that's enough of like the general disclaimer and warnings. Let's get into what makes this event different from any other event. As you see to my right, we have access to 5 promos in this drop event. It's the Gible, a Raichu, a Cherrim, which are all altars of cards we already have access to. Then there's Nosepass and Staraptor that are event exclusive. This is one of like the first events where I feel like I want every single card in it. Cherrim kind of falls off, honestly, in my opinion. But the artwork on that Gible and Raichu are like must-haves, and then Nosepass and Staraptor being event exclusives are things like we never know when we'll get another chance to get these cards. Luckily, they're in the common slots, so you're gonna get an abysmal amount of them. And to give y'all a better look of the cards themselves, I have like pictures. Like this Raichu art is amazing. Then we have the Cherrim. It's honestly better than the one that comes in the pack, but again, I don't know how much play a Cherrim like this would get. Then we have Nosepass, which again, like I said, it's an event exclusive. Flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks. Will you actually use this? Probably not. There's Nosepasses that have 80 HP, and regardless, Nosepass to this point is just a stepping stone to evolve into Probopass. So you most likely will play the one with more HP and has like a more relevant attack, as at least the other one like gets attack for 10. But when it comes to collection, you want every card. I want every card, so don't worry, you'll get your Nosepasses. And then we have Staraptor, which is actually our third Staraptor in the game, as well as another berry target. This one has the ability Defensive Whirlwind, that this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks from fighting types. And then its attack is 3 energy wing attack for 90. Or if you use berry, it's just one energy 90. Now, it's give or take how you feel about this card. The artwork is amazing, and then the fact, again, like I said, for collectors, this is the only way we have access to it for the time being. And until they don't make promos tradable, it's going to be the only way to get it. As far as playability, time will tell. But ultimately, the biggest draw is definitely this Altar Gible, as well as the Raichu. And now let's take a look at the deck that we have to go against in order to get these promos. Here I have the list that the expert level will be using, as it's a Garchomp Lucario list that focuses on being very aggressive with its lead and eventually builds up to a Garchomp that's going to hit like a tank. So the main thing to note or like be wary of is how aggressive the opponent plays, as not only do they focus on building up Lucario, they are very proactive with their X speeds, and they will alternate between Hitmonchan and Riolu and Gabite and however they see fit in order to deal as much damage as possible early on. However, the same way they're very proactive with their X speeds, they're almost the opposite when it comes to Cyrus and Sabrina, as they technically don't use them at all. I don't know in what situations they would. At least in my personal experience, I played quite a few matches to try to give y'all the best deck that I could provide, or like the best insight, and it never came up. Even if there was like something damaged in the backline, due to Garchomp being able to deal damage anywhere, it almost like they don't play with their Cyrus or Sabrinas. But not to say to completely ignore their existence, but don't overthink your plays too much trying to play around them, as they don't use them as actively or strategically as an actual person would use it. 2 interesting points that I found as I fought this deck was that, one, they love switching. Like once their Garchomp is damaged or whatever their front line is damaged, and it's in danger of getting knocked out, they're very quick to take it out. The same way they're proactively using XP to get into battle, they will quickly just drop an energy to get out of the way. And that's something that we'll keep in mind going into our own deck list. And the other thing is that Garchomp loves sitting the bench. If it has a knockout on the bench, it'll ignore what you have in the front line, and vice versa. So although that's not something we could really take advantage of, it's something that we could keep in mind when deciding what to put on the bench or what to be active and so forth. So with knowing the list they're running, as well as the game plan, or at least the end game they're going towards, we keep that in mind as we introduce a list that will consistently beat this in the form of Togekiss. Togekiss is a deck that, once it's established, Togekiss plus Cynthia basically one-shots anything in this deck, especially after it swings the first time. So if you're able to set up your Togekiss before they set up Garchomp, you're swinging for 60 the turn before it, and then once they put Garchomp in, you're swinging with Cynthia for 170, knocking out anything they have in front of you, including their boss and Garchomp. And once you knock down any part of their Gible line, the game's over. The reason we play 2 Cynthias is just due to the lack of HP that everything but Garchomp has, just to like guarantee that knockout the turn before you start swinging for 120 and more. The rest of the deck is just built to make this happen as consistently as possible. We have Sigilyph, Slap, and Communication just for max consistency. I personally decided on 1 Sigilyph and Slab alongside 2 Communication. Those are the ratios that allowed me to find the combo as fast as possible while not getting in its own way at the same time. But feel free to play around with those ratios, whether you want to maybe up the count of Slab or up the count of Sigilyph. I think a 4 count of like consistency pieces alongside Research and Pokeball is fine. But again, it's all preference. If you feel like you need a little bit more consistency, you could up Sigilyph. Or if you're a fan of Slab over Communication, feel free to swap those around. Another card that you can play around with is Cape. I played 2 because seeing it is very important in the early game if you're missing a piece or if you're forced to lead Togepi, as their average hand that evolves into Lucario allows them to get a little too aggressive. And Cape tends to buy you an extra turn that once you evolve into Togetic or Togekiss, you start feeling a little less in danger. And it buys you a little more time to find your combo to just outright win. The X-Speed serves 2 purposes in this deck. It's 1, to swap from Sigilyph into Togekiss once it's set up and not have to waste an energy or wait a turn to give an energy to the Sigilyph. Or 2, if you start Togepi and you want to get out of the way so Sigilyph can not only draw you a card, but also serve as a wall. X-Speed allows you to fix that if you happen to open Togepi and draw into your Sigilyph later into your turn. The final card that I have yet to touch on is Cyrus. As I said when I was breaking down their deck, they love switching in and out based on like what's in danger or what they're trying to avoid getting knocked out. And when it comes to them putting a Gible line in the back, whether it's at Gible or Gabite or Garchomp, it's very important to Cyrus that upwards and knock that down, because once you get Gible out the way, nothing they build up is dangerous. As you saw, it's built up of Hitmonchan and Lucario, which although they're very good cards in their own right, they don't apply enough pressure to actually affect what we're trying to do. So once you're able to knock out the Gible, you're safe, or Gabite or whichever part of the line they're in, right? Hopefully this little breakdown of both kind of help you in not only completing the event, but remembering that expert level is the one that gives you the pack. I can't stress that enough, because if you spend it in any other difficulty, you risk the chance of not getting a pack. And trust me when I tell you, there's been multiple people that at the end of an event, especially these drop events, don't get the promos at all. And you want to avoid that possibility as much as possible by being as efficient as possible. If you enjoy the content or found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. Stick around for the gameplay, as it'll give you a visual idea of how to run this deck in order to maximize getting your packs. And above all else, stay pro. Alright, we get to go second, which in terms of applying pressure, I guess is ideal, but we realistically want to go get to Togekiss as fast as possible. So this is one of those few ones where going first isn't the worst thing, but we'll try to make the best of it. Alright. Yeah, we could use a hand like that. If this research gets us double Pokeball, I wouldn't be too mad. Yeah, there's 1 Pokeball. And given that we already have Togetic, you might as well use it now. And we'll research here. Alright, now we do have the chance of like slabbing immediately. And we will. And the reason I'm gonna slab now, I'll explain it now depending on the result. Okay, it doesn't matter. Is mainly because they have the ability to knock out Togepi next turn. It doesn't look like it, but trust. They love having Lucario into X speed. So, and we didn't draw the cape to like give the Togepi the extra the extra health. But let's see. Alright, so that also would have knocked out Togepi if they had Lucario, but you know, we got a little lucky there. Let's go research first and then go from there. Alright, we got an XP technically. That's to save some energy. They do play Cyrus, by the way, but if they want Cyrus to knock out Togepi, I think we're fine with that. So they're gonna evolve the one in the back line. And we'll keep the Sigilyph in hand because we might need to use it with Pokemon Communication in hopes that we find Togekiss. Let's see. This could get scary because Garchomp's almost guaranteed. Lucario's almost guaranteed too, but I guess they didn't see it. Alright, they went for the Togepi, which is understandable. But it does give us a chance to win. Let's see here. There's the Cynthia. So if we see the Togekiss here, it's just game over. We do have 2 chances for it, so... Alright, we got it in 1. Alright, so it lets me do it. And that's a quick example of how to win it. Yeah, I know it got a little shaky there. A lot of these games are going to be a little shaky because if they draw optimal and you just misstep a little bit, not even misplaying, I mean like just miss a card, they could start taking too much of like a lead. But trust me when I tell you, this is one of like the more like consistent ways to beat the challenge. See here, didn't matter what we drew. Because once Togekiss swings once, Cynthia lets you one-shot a Garchomp. That's like something to keep in mind. And that's like something that has like not many decks could beat it, especially not 3 diamonds or less. Alright, perfect. Now I can give you an example of us going first. There's Sigilyph, but we do have a Pokeball that guarantees the Togepi, and we already have the Togetic. It's looking okay, it's looking pretty well. Pretty good, I mean. The only thing we would kind of need is like an X speed. Or the fact that they don't have their Gible yet kind of puts us in a position where I'm not afraid of what they're building up. Although they draw very consistently, that's all I want to say. Yeah, we don't mind the Sigilyph damage here. And we have to like outplay them here slightly. What we're gonna do is, since we already have the line, we're not afraid of anything that they actually have access to, right? What I'm hoping for actually is that they go Lucario and knock out the Sigilyph, and then I could just start swinging with Togekiss already, and it's basically game over from there. This Togepi is kind of a liability to put down, but not game costing. It's just, it gives them another target. But yeah. So the main idea is, the main hope is that they open Lucario. Yeah, they're okay, perfect. The other thing would have been like top decking X speed, but we're fine. This is even better actually. Not sure why they play like this. Again, you're playing against the CPU, they're not going to do the best plays. But regardless, we were ready for either play. Because let's say, had they done it correctly, you just kept Hitmonchan up. I'll explain it later. Alright, so we got the Togekiss. Also, if we were to be afraid of a Garchomp 50 damage here, this guarantees the Togetic. Due to just as you can see, the line that we're playing. The ratios, I mean. That's just to show that, but point is, had they had Hitmonchan up front, we would be able to swing 60 with the weakness. It would have gotten up to 80, knocked out Hitmonchan. Then at most, all they could do is go into Garchomp and hit for 50, regardless of whether it's to the front or the back. And then with Cynthia, we would have been swinging for 170. So regardless, we were going to win the game. Just this way, we just have to Cynthia earlier and cut off Garchomp at the source, basically. And once you get cut off Garchomp or knock out Garchomp itself, they have no win condition, which is why you use Cynthia aggressively and why I play 2 Cynthias. Because in a perfect world, you only play 1 Cynthia because you just need it to one-shot the Garchomp. But just in case like this, or you need to use it multiple times a game, it's why I use it. But you see, from now on, we get to one-shot everything and they have no way of pressuring us for game. So that's like the concept, or like the main goal, or a thing you want to like build towards when using this deck in this drop event. So, you know, every now and then you might like miss a piece and they'll draw insane. One thing to keep in mind is that you can't lose, like, you don't lose stamina by losing games. So like, don't get frustrated if they've got like a bout of like luck and you're just unlucky. So it will eventually, it adds up. Like, you will win because this deck is built just to win. Like, especially this matchup. The fact that we went with Psychic rather than Grass is the majority of the cards they're putting down are weak to the Psychic, other than Gible. Nothing cares for like if you just go full Grass. And Psychic just has a better way of dealing damage, if that makes sense. When you're looking at the limitations of 3 diamonds or less, whether you want to go Togekiss, whether you want to go Alakazam, like, they're all decks that work. And they're able to like hit hard regardless of what they have up front.